Story Hinge, Episode 55, Georgian Benta, Gratitude.
I always have this power. I always have the power to choose to see things in a different way, in a way that makes me happy, in a way that makes me appreciate life, even though I still have challenges, even though I still have some bad days. The beautiful part is that I can always choose gratitude, and I can always choose to appreciate the little things, the experiences that I have each day, and I think that's quite a blessing.
Welcome to Story Hinge, where we unfold more meaning and value in everyone's personal story. At Story Hinge, we explore foundational ideas and beliefs through diverse personal stories in order to discover more meaningful paths, greater happiness, and accelerated growth in one's life. We believe everyone has a beautiful story to grow. Now here's your host, Jason Vidari.
All right, so excited today. Welcome everyone to Story Hinge. Today we have on a guest that's going to teach us something very valuable, something valuable about gratitude. And I want to introduce Georgian Benta. Georgian, welcome to Story Hinge.
Thank you so much for having me, Jason. I really appreciate being on your show and being able to share my story and hopefully get to inspire a few people.
Yeah, I hope so. I mean, I really found it fascinating some of the background and where you got to where you're at today. Here at Story Hinge, we like to go back in time a little bit, hear a little bit of your story, and maybe some of those foundational things that changed your path and led you to where you're at today. So why don't you take us back a little bit and let's hear a little bit about your background.
Yeah, definitely. So from like how far in the past do you want me to go?
Well, why don't we go back? I mean, most of our audience is going to notice, hey, this guy has an accent. Where's this guy from? Let's hear a little bit about that and some of your growing up, perhaps.
Yeah, so I'm from Romania. I'm still living there. So if, like Jason said, if I have a little bit of an accent, it's because I'm from Transylvania. I was born in a small city in Transylvania, in a small town, and I don't know how much I could tell that's relevant from my childhood, but I did have an experience when I came to college in Cluj, the city where I live right now. That was very important for me. That made me want to go more into studying gratitude and experiencing more gratitude. It was a time when I've tried to work on the business. I've actually worked in a business with a partner, and at one point something just broke, and we couldn't go on together. And I've worked for quite a while, and I did all kinds of sacrifices to make that business work. And I had other challenges, and I was feeling really down. And at one point, I went out by the riverside and I prayed. And what was interesting for me was that at a certain moment, I had a beautiful feeling coming into my body. Like I felt everything that I was experiencing, like I felt it the first time that I was experiencing it. Like I felt the same joy that I felt the first time that I came to the city where I live in. The joy that I felt when I moved into the apartment where I lived I was living at the moment. Everything was new, and for me that was a really important experience that taught me that it's not about, or at least it's not only about what happens on the outside, but it's so much about how much we're able to appreciate the experiences that we have. And it was interesting that I was very happy in that moment, even though nothing changed on the exterior. So everything was exactly the same, but I was happy. And for me, that was quite an experience that left a really deep mark in my heart and in my soul.
Well, that's interesting. I've had some, I don't know how you classify that as you look back on it now. It sounds like you had some of those feelings, not just in that one moment, but in other times in your life. How do you, I guess, account for that and look at those experiences, and how you kept having those type of things where it seems like it's maybe leading you down a path. And I don't know if you, count that to God or to some spiritual realm, or how do you look at that?
Yeah, definitely. For me, it was an answer to my prayers, and I'm not usually the type that's always praying or that's very religious. I was really at a really low point in my life, and the fact that I had that experience in that particular moment made me think about the fact that it might actually be a response to my prayers, and the fact that I always have this power. I always have the power to choose to see things in a different way, in a way that makes me happy, in a way that makes me appreciate life, even though I still have challenges, even though I still have some bad days. The beautiful part is that I can always choose gratitude, and I can always choose to appreciate the little things, the experiences that I have each day, and I think that's quite a blessing.
That's pretty cool. So you had that experience, I guess. What did you do with it after that? Did you automatically start moving in towards this more gratitude approach, or how did you move from where you were to where you're at today?
Yeah, so that actually, so the beautiful feeling that I had lasted for a while, but it didn't last forever. And after it began to fade, I was looking at ways to keep it up, to get back into that beautiful feeling, because it was just amazing. And I've looked on the internet, I've looked on YouTube at everything that I could find on gratitude. And also I wanted to explore it myself, like to really read, for instance, to read research, to talk with other people that are living with gratitude and see how they do it, what they do when it's hard to be grateful, and all kinds of things like these. That's one of the reasons why I actually got into podcasting and into doing the gratitude podcast, because I wanted to learn from other people that are doing this, and to debate with them my ideas and also my experiences, and see where other people as well have felt what I have felt. And yeah, for me, it's such an important gift, because it's something that gives me power somehow, because whatever happens on the outside, I know that I have this ability to appreciate and to enjoy life so much more.
Okay, very cool. I guess I think some of the audience here, and myself included, sometimes there's a struggle in trying to figure out what we should do next. We have these ideas, these passions, if you will, maybe having a spiritual experience where we feel compelled for something. But I think a lot of us still struggle in trying to figure out what the next step is. Can you take us through your process a little bit and help us understand? It sounds like you started researching more, maybe talking to other people. Was it pretty clear to you that this is the path you wanted to go down to, or did you still have to figure that out along the way?
I still had to figure it out, totally. So, and the funny thing is that even after I knew that this was the path, I still procrastinated for, I think, 1 year before I actually started and committed to the journey. And so, for instance, I've read Conversations with God by Neil Donald Walsh, and that helped me. It's not directly related to your life's mission, but it helped me get more clear on what I want to do, and what I want to leave as a mark on this world. And I think 1 year from that, I've also read Viktor Frankl's A Man's Search for Meaning, which was very helpful, and I totally recommend that book. It was interesting that in the book he talks a lot about finding meaning in your experiences, and it's funny because it's a way of actually applying gratitude, appreciating the experiences that you have, and making something out of them. Like it was my experience with that particular prayer. I had the experience, and now that I chose to go on this path, I can share it with other people. I can hopefully inspire other people to see the world from that perspective.
Okay. So I guess you talked about, you have a podcast called
The Gratitude Podcast. Yeah.
The Gratitude Podcast. And what else? Let's bring us up to that and what you're doing with gratitude now, and just kind of bring us up to the work you're doing today.
Yeah. So I've set the vision for myself to reach 100,000 people, to get them to live with a grateful heart. And this is my objective, and I want to take other people with me on this journey. And I do this basically by interviewing people that are already grateful and that are also having great success, or that have been through difficult situations, like cancer survivors, or people that are not able to move, like they're stuck in a wheelchair, and all kinds of people like these that they inspire us because they are able to be grateful even in, or people with chronic pain. That's one that was very fascinating for me, that people with chronic pain, they are still able to feel gratitude and to appreciate life even though you have a constant pain. I think this is quite interesting. Also, I've done a lot of research, like I've read the research on gratitude, and I also shared that on the podcast with my listeners, because I think it's another way of motivating myself and other people as well, to see that it's not just something spiritual, religious, but it's also backed by science, and it's really good for us on so many levels. Like, it's good for our health, for our self-esteem, for our mental health, and also if you know and you believe in the law of attraction, it's great to manifest other beautiful things in your life as well. But for me, it's a way of life much more than it is a tool to get something else, but to appreciate what I already have and what I'm already experiencing.
That's good. Yeah, I was going to ask you, why gratitude? Why should we cultivate gratitude, or even become more gracious in all of our things? And you hit some of that. Do you have any other things that what gratitude has done for you?
Definitely. So I just had an interview for my podcast like 1 hour ago, and it was very interesting that the person's husband, it was a her, of course, she said that her husband is a Grammy Award winner, and we talked a little bit about the fact that people see success. So when we see people that are successful, we automatically think that they are happy and that everything is great in their life, and we automatically want to be like them. And when we see them winning an award, or I don't know, having a concert, or being on the stage one way or another, we see them as successful and we look up to them and we think that everything is perfect in their life. But that's just such a small part of life in general. And that's why I think gratitude is so important, because it's a tool that we can use in everyday life. Like, for me at least, I wouldn't like to be happy only when I reach that particular goal, or when I become famous, or when I become a multimillionaire or something like this. I want to be happy, and I want to appreciate life as it unfolds, as it unfolds day by day, hour by hour, with the small things that happen each day. And this is life. I always, when I was a little bit younger, I always thought that life will begin at one point when everything will be perfect, and I will have this and that, and I don't know, things like these that were put in front of us. And I really didn't feel that that's happiness. It's the road until you get there, or even if you don't get there, the fact that you've enjoyed the road, this is I think extremely important, because it's our life, and if we choose to appreciate it, and if we choose to appreciate the small things, it just makes our experience of it much more beautiful.
So I guess maybe reflect on your own story, and as you look back, what difference has it made in your own life? If you look back before this change in your life, when you weren't so much focused on gratitude compared to where you're at now, can you help us understand what's the difference in your life for you personally?
It's huge, and thank you for asking me this, because it's really good to have a perspective on this. So my relationship has improved a lot. For instance, I'm sure that I'm not the only one. So my mother used to complain a lot about my father, for instance, and I learned that from her, and I had a tendency to be very critical of my girlfriend. And thanks to gratitude and to cultivating it in my life, I began to appreciate her more and more, and to have our relationship become much better. It actually helped me financially. Like after that period, when I had the moment with the prayer and my experience, then I actually tripled my income, because I chose to focus on my gifts. I chose to see what I could give, what I could give of value, and also let's say I attracted someone, a business partner that was very appreciative of me and of my work. And it wasn't just an appreciation like in words, but it was also a financial appreciation. Like I said, I was paid much better, and in general, the day by day experience. And I think this is precious. I appreciate the little things much more. And the thing is like this: my natural tendency is to be pessimistic, and it's to see what's not going okay, to focus on things that might not make me happy. And gratitude has helped me a lot to balance things out, and to appreciate the little things, to appreciate things that happen each day, and to see the fact that my life is actually wonderful, even if it's not as I don't know, luxurious or as flamboyant as other people's lives, but it's wonderful for me,
Mm-hmm. No, that makes sense. I mean, it seems some fundamental to just basic happiness. If we don't have gratitude, and like you talked about, I think the human tendency is for us to be more pessimistic, to look for the negative, and gratitude seems to be able to turn all that around.
Exactly.
I'm curious, as you were doing all your research and going through this, what were some of the surprises you learned about gratitude that you may have not have thought of before?
This is such a good question. I love it. So one thing that I've learned that is amazing is that every person's experience of gratitude is different. Like when you think about gratitude, you think about something general, but people practice gratitude and experience gratitude in so many different ways. And that has been very surprising for me. And it's one of the reasons why I keep going. I've already done 60 plus interviews on gratitude, and you would think that I would get bored, or it's like, okay, it's just gratitude. What more can it be? But it's actually really interesting to see in how many ways people practice it, and in how many ways I myself can practice it. So in different areas of our life, we can get more gratitude, and it just balances things out, because like you said, we have a tendency to focus on the negative. Our brain is wired in a way that we should survive. So our brain wants us to survive. So when we have threats or possible threats, or perceived threats, we focus on them. When we give them energy, we give them our attention, and that's good for our survival on one part, but it's not so good for our happiness. And that's where gratitude plays a major role, in my opinion, in my experience.
Yeah, that's good. Do you have a specific practice you could share with us that would be, I've heard, I guess personally, I just heard about, gratitude journals, having these moments of, I guess maybe meditation or prayer where you're going through the things you're grateful for. Do you have another practice, something you could share with us to help us and the audience?
Yeah, definitely. So I think the easiest one to go into is gratitude journaling, but it's about doing this in a certain way. Like I've also had an interview recently with an NLP master, and we talked a little bit about this. So you can put in your gratitude journal, if you write 3 things, like I'm grateful for my family, my dog, and I don't know, for having a house. Okay, how much feeling do you get when you just put those 3 things that are just 3 words? But the important thing is to go deep, and to, like, when you think about your dog, for instance, or I don't know, your house may be a little bit better because we all have a house, or at least we rent a house where we live in. Think about the warmth that you feel in your home, the fact that you're sheltered from the wind, the rain, everything. Also, make it visual. Use the audio part. Think about the fact that you might, when you open the window, you might hear the birds singing, or try to use as many of your senses as you can when you describe it. And the most important thing is to actually elicit emotions, to get into an emotion of what home or what that house means for you. The fact that you have shelter for your family, you feel that you can protect them by having that particular house. And you will see that once you go into this, once you go more into depth, you will see that the feeling of gratitude will naturally arise, and it actually has a positive effect on our brain. So this is related to a book that I've read called Hardwiring Happiness. It actually helps us create new neural pathways. And from another point of view, also, for instance, at night, if we do this, if we write 3 things that were amazing that day, and they don't have to be like huge things, but we can see them in a beautiful way and appreciate them in a beautiful way. When we do this, we actually change our perspective about our life, and we see the fact that it's actually a beautiful life, and that we have so many things that we can appreciate, and in time we will get to actually appreciate them and to live from another perspective. even though on the outside, like I said, on the outside, things might be quite the same, but if we have a different perspective on the usual things, it might actually make us a really happy person. And the beautiful part about gratitude that I really love is that it's not just something spiritual, but it's really grounded in science. It's and it and also in my own experience, so I know that it actually works, and I definitely encourage our listeners to try this out, to think about and to write down 3 experiences that they had today or yesterday, if they're listening in the morning, and just see how that makes them feel. And another important thing about this is that you don't have to write each day, and it doesn't have to be the same kind of gratitude exercise, because it's much more important to go into depth and to actually feel it rather than just do this as a chore. And actually, one of the most well-known researchers on gratitude recommends us to write only 2 or 3 times a week, and research has shown that it's actually more effective than writing each and every day. And also one more thing that I love to recommend is to incorporate gratitude as much as you can in your own life. Like I hope that this example will help with getting the idea out. For instance, when I go into town, I like to look at the city as like a tourist would, to appreciate, to look at the buildings, to appreciate the people, to see it like I would see a different city that I visit. And that puts me in a state of appreciation and of seeing all the time, seeing new things that I didn't see before, rather than just see them as it's just another day, it's the same city, it's the same thing. And I think that we can do this with our life in general, with all the small things that we have in our life, like the fact that we have a smartphone, a computer, and the amazing things that we can do with them. So try to incorporate gratitude as much as you can in your own day.
That's good. That's really a lot of good stuff there, Georgian. I appreciate you sharing all that with us. A couple of things you said, I want to maybe go back a little bit and play with a couple of these ideas. You talked about, chronic pain and that kind of brought in my mind the difficult times in our lives, perhaps, or maybe even mistakes we made. How can we, or I guess maybe the first question is, can we cultivate gratitude even for those, say, difficult times or difficult things we may be facing? And then the second part to that would be, how do we cultivate gratitude even for maybe the not so good things in our lives?
I can't say from experience that I've dealt with that too much, but usually when it comes to this part, we, like Steve Jobs says, we can only connect the dots going further, I think.
Like looking back in the past?
Looking back in the past, yeah. All right. I didn't quite remember well that quote. But the thing is that all of the experiences that we have and that we had get us to be who we are today. And it's something that we might have heard around this thing, but it's actually true. And even Oprah, even Anthony Robbins, even I don't know who you admire right now, they all had experiences like these. Like if you've read things about Oprah's childhood or about Anthony Robbins' childhood, you'll find things that are very interesting, and you wouldn't have thought that they experienced something like that. And the thing is that they found a way to see this as a gift and to overcome that particular situation and to become something for other people, to use that gift for other people. And I think this is the only thing we can do. And another thing that Gary Vaynerchuk says that's really really cool is that we don't have another option. Actually, we have to move forward, and by seeing the situations from our past as building blocks to the one we are today is the only way the best and the only way to go about it, because we can't change the past, right? And the only thing is to appreciate the experiences, to learn from them, to find the gifts in them, and to take them into the present moment and use them to help other people.
That's good. No, I appreciate that's good. There's a lot of, I think there's value in doing that as well. No, I guess one thing I want to hit here is, if people want to find you, follow you, where can they do that?
Yeah, so I'm on iTunes. If you search for Gratitude, you will find most probably it's the first or the second podcast there. Also on Facebook at the Gratitude Podcast, on Instagram at the Gratitude Podcast, on Twitter at Georgian Benta. So yeah, or also if you want to write to me personally, you can do so at hello@georgianbenta.com. Let me know that you're from Jason's audience, and I'd love to hear from you, and I'll of course personally respond to you. And yeah, this is pretty much it.
That's good. Well, Georgian, I mean, you got me thinking here. I try to practice gratitude. I would, to some level, I try to practice gratitude, but I'm thinking, wow, there's a lot of areas I can improve at. I could probably do a little more writing in my journal and bring that out a little bit more. I tend to do a lot of meditation and recording on my drives to and from work. I was like, that's probably a nice time to think about, bring gratitude, a little practice of gratitude into that drive.
Definitely.
And so you got definitely thinking about some things to change here. I guess as we're closing up here, I want to give you another opportunity to share with the audience any other last piece of advice, or maybe for someone out there struggling a little bit in life, kind of looking around, saying, "Yeah, I'm not sure what my next steps might be." What would you say to that person?
Yeah, well, I think that we can always find something to be grateful, and it's really not that hard. It's just like a muscle. We are much more used to complaining than we are to appreciating usually. And I know I've been there. I've been like complaining quite a lot, and I know that it can be really hard to find gratitude. But what other option do you have actually? You can live in complainingness or in complaining less. It's a choice that we make, and we can definitely choose gratitude because it's better for us, because our life experience will be much more beautiful, and it's better for other people because we will become better people and more enjoyable people once we appreciate our life more, and once we appreciate the people in our life more, and once we actually see the fact that we have many blessings that we can acknowledge. And if you have nothing, you still have the birds that you can hear, or you have, I don't know, a bench in the park where you can reconnect with nature. You can always find something, and you can begin with simple things. You can begin even with your breath, like right now. If you're listening to us right now, just take a breath like this. Get back into the present moment and realize that you have this breath and you have this life, and it's a gift. And you can either feel bad about the things that have happened, or get back into the present moment, get back into your own power, and choose to do something about it, to enjoy it much more, because it's really beautiful once you choose to see the things that were given to you, the gifts that you have in your life. Because the one thing that makes us sad is the fact that we focus so much on what's wrong, on what's not okay, on what's bad, and it feels good on the one side, and it's neurochemical. So our brain makes us feel good about focusing on the negative, but we can choose to feel grateful and to appreciate the positive things in our life. And also, if you can't find reasons to feel grateful, you can go to the Gratitude Podcast. You will find there 100 episodes with gratitude reminders that you can listen to, and it might give you an idea or two about what you can feel grateful for.
Wow, that's wonderful. Well, Georgian, I appreciate that, and I, invite and encourage my audience to go check that out and to find ways to cultivate more gratitude in your life. I think it almost feels like a free gift out there. It's not like we're asking you to go get like a degree or something, or it's almost feel like it's right here. You have the opportunity to do it right now. You could just do it, even with the life you have right now, and it will lift up and make things better. It seems pretty amazing to me in that way.
Exactly. And one more thing that I would like to add to this is that usually when we think about success, and even when we think about our children or when we were children, success was, for instance, getting a great education, getting a great job, getting married and everything. But people didn't teach us how to feel grateful, how to feel happy. And we sometimes got to that point of having it all on the exterior, but we weren't taught how to appreciate everything and how to live with gratitude and with happiness inside of us. And I think that's important to learn as well, even if it's not that easily seen. It's a skill, a life skill that we can totally learn, and we can have it for free, basically.
That's beautiful. Well, Georgian, thank you for spending time with us here on Storyhenge, and we're wishing the best, and we'll keep following you.
Definitely. Thank you so much for having me.
Well, thank you all for spending time with us at Storyhenge. Hope you got something valuable out of that. I know this is really nice and timely that this is coming out on Thanksgiving. Time for us to really reflect and think about those things that we're thankful for, and to hopefully practice better ways to cultivate gratitude in our lives. So thanks again to Georgian and to each one of you out there. This also, by way of announcement, this wraps up my season 1 of Storyhenge. We're going to be moving to season 2 on the next episodes. And season 2 is going to have a little bit more focus on stories themselves, on storytellers, on how to use your own story in your life to find those improvements. We've made suggestions around that, and this first season has been pretty broad in that we've interviewed all kinds of people and their different stories, and it's been pretty diverse and a really great experience for me. And I won't say too much about that yet. I'm going to come out with a bit of an announcement and my summary of season 1, and entailing and detailing a little bit more about what season 2 will entail, so you have a better idea out there. But really, just a big thank you for everyone out there that's been supporting this podcast, and it's been a great experience for this first year. And I am personally grateful for all of it, for each one of my guests, for all of my audience out there. And we're going to continue this ride and see where it takes us. So you guys have a great week, and look forward to season 2 with you. All right, bye.
Thank you for sharing with us at Storyhenge. We hope this time together has added more goodness to your journey. Until next time, onward and upward, and may your own story continue to grow more beautiful.